Welcome to another episode of the Round Table here with Ben. What's going on, man?
Man, not much, dude. It's going good though. Been a crazy kind of day again, and
Well,
man, just
That's not stopping for another at least 3 or 4 weeks. So
yeah. I was just when you walked in, I was checking so I get messages from my mentors, and I got 2 messages from 2 of them, and those things uplift you, man. It's good hearing their voices, and sometimes I just get silent, and I kind of talked to you about that with Instagram and stuff like that. I was like I got to go silent for a little bit, but sometimes I get so busy doing other things, and then I just put it to the wayside, and I just need to be better. And so it was good hearing their voices. I reached out to them, and I was like, put my ego aside, and was like, look, I know it's been a while, but I gotta reach out. And so I reached out, and that's the one thing is that they act like nothing, they're just, hey, man, good to hear from you, man. We know what's up. What can I help you with? It's not even like, it's been a while, buddy. None of that.
Gee.
So it's been good. I'm super excited. I'm there's a lot of things that are
are you tired yet?
This is actually calm for me, man. You know what I mean? That's why when we talked about, I was like, it's not that big of a deal, or not that big of a thing, but I know prospectively it is, but I don't know, man. It's to me, it's like satisfying. I enjoy every minute of it. You know what I mean? It just means that when things get like this, it's just
The chaos brings the calm.
and it's worth it. This is what we fight for, is to do these things, to put ourselves in these positions, and it's just even greater things coming, I know. And I talked to Taylor the other day. I was like, it's time to refocus. It's time to really lock in. You know what I mean? And she's like, like she saw it in my eyes. You know what I mean? She's like, oh shoot, here we go.
Another 75 hard coming up.
It's coming. I think in what are we in? Whatever it is, it'll run right before the end of the year, or into the next year. We'll see how I plan it out, but yeah, I just told her, I was like, look, it's just it's time to lock in on everything and take our whole life to the next level. And she's like, well, we're doing this big thing now. I was like, it's just that's just the launching pad to get it going. And she's like, oh my God, here we go. So yeah, man, it's good. I'm good. I'm happy.
Well, good.
So but what about you, man?
Oh, doing pretty good.
You just wrapped up 75 hard for the second time. You wrapped it up with your wife.
That was pretty fantastic,
Bang.
honestly. We booked tattoos. It's kind of our, like, we're done, we fucking did this. She's been talking about it forever. And I'm like, I've been talking about it. And she found a guy. And we're like, let's just fucking do it. I messaged her because we were actually just texting back and forth about it. And I said, look, this is finishing birthdays and Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, let's just do it all. Tattoos aren't fucking cheap. So
Nope.
So I'm like, let's just do that. Let's call it that, and we'll be good. And she's like, okay, done. Let's do it. So hopefully she sticks to the plan. Luckily, my birthday's first, so she gets me something, I can go back and get her something. So
there you go.
But that's the plan. We got our vacation. You get yours right. You get one right before.
I didn't think that through very well.
No,
I didn't think this one through very well because I can't go in the pool when I go out this next week.
That's true.
Like, freak. That's on my legs. I can't even get like half body.
Right. Yep. That's true. What sucks is you're like a week or 2 out from being able to get in the pool or something.
Seriously.
Aren't you? Like a couple of days or something. Yeah.
But it's too big of a risk. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, it's not worth it.
I'm not going to lose my leg.
No, it's not worth it. And then, hers is the weekend after we get back, I think, and mine's 2 weeks after that. So
nice.
I'm excited.
I love it.
It's time for some new ink.
Yeah. It felt good. It felt really, really good.
I mean, I don't know how long your session is, but we're going. I have a feeling we're going to both be getting tattooed for anywhere from 5 to 6 hours or more.
That's not fun.
No. But.
No, I haven't decided yet. I haven't decided where to place it. That'll depend on how long the time is. Either chest or leg. So
legs are brutal.
But
as hell. At least if you do your chest, you can put your lower body in the hot tub.
That's what I'm thinking. So, but it's also the chest, and
it's pretty brutal. From what I hear.
Yeah.
I don't have one on there. But I can attest to the legs not much better. So
the leg, that little spot, man.
I told you.
It didn't feel very good.
I told you. I have one on the opposite leg, remember?
It was small.
Yeah.
I was like, dang. I don't think it was more than an hour, and I was like, whoa, this sucks. this does not feel good. And that's funny. 'Cause shout out to Sierra, but she's like tattooing my leg, and one of the other guys comes up. I think it was Swayze. He comes up and he's like talking to her and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, legs tattoos suck, man. This thing's hurt. And so they're like having this full on conversation. And they're like, as you're getting your your leg tattooed, my bad, dude. Like,
Well,
I was like,
when I got my first one, my giant tree on my leg, yeah, when it was all done, he goes, yeah, I didn't want to tell you, but that's one of the worst places to get a tattoo, especially at first. And I'm like, well, yeah, fuck you then. Anyways, so this isn't exactly what I wanted to talk to you about, but my wife and I talked about it a little bit earlier today. So I'm curious where you're at, because it kind of follows our last one that we're talking about a little bit. Okay, so she's reading The Courage to Be Disliked.
Such a good book.
I haven't read it yet.
Such a good book.
But, so you probably know where this might go. It's talking about how when one thing bothers you about somebody, you know, it doesn't matter what else they do, you're bothered by them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that part in the book?
So it's been so long since I read it. So
I'll read this. It's like, oh, it's getting confusing again. You said that I see other people as enemies and can't think of them as comrades because I'm running away from my life's task. What's that supposed to mean anyway? The philosopher. Suppose, for instance, that there is a certain Mr. A whom you don't like because he has some flaws that are hard to forgive. Youth. Haha. If we're looking for people I don't like, there's no shortage of candidates. Philosopher. But it isn't that you dislike Mr. A because you can't forgive his flaws. You had a goal of taking a dislike to Mr. A beforehand and then started looking for flaws to satisfy that goal.
I forgot how the format of the book, and I remember that Taylor didn't quite like it because, you know, she's a studious person, and I'm like, you know, just totally just give it simple to me, and I felt like this format was super good. So I don't necessarily remember the lesson in this chapter, but based on that sentence, it sounds like, yeah, it's almost like confirmation bias, right?
Or judging a book by its cover.
Right.
Before you get to know them.
You set a set perception of person because of whatever, your own insecurities, your own ideas or judgment of the person. And then you look for things that they have done or are doing. And even though they might not be as big of a deal or really anything, you use those to solidify your position in not liking that person.
So how do you go about not doing that?
You shut yourself in a room and don't ever.
Hey, kind of like this one. It's great. It's small. It's perfect.
Yeah.
No, so just a little backstory. The wife and I talked about this because she had just read that part today, and we were sitting out back, and we kind of had a discussion about it, and it was a good discussion because I've caught myself doing it. She's obviously caught herself doing it. It's life. You catch yourself doing it, but there's ways to get away from it. You know, you have to look past those flaws and say, okay, why am I judging you so hard on that flaw? Or why am I putting you at such a bad place because of those flaws? And it got me really thinking. So I was just curious, how do you try to avoid that or get away from it? Or
no, I think from my perspective, I think a lot of it, like you said, it's judgment, right? It's judgment on the other person. And unfortunately, as human beings, that's just our innate nature is to judge other people. But it's also our responsibility to move past those judgments and make an educated decision on why you should maybe kill that perspective on said person if you don't really know them. We're just using that perspective, right, or that storyline. And a lot of times what I've done it is just I put it on myself, you know, and I said, you know, I would say in my head, like, why are you judging this person? Is it because of your own insecurity of what they've done? So a lot of it, I put it back on myself and just really take away from what I'm actually thinking of the person and put it back on me and try to understand why I'm feeling said way, because it's ultimately has to do something with that I'm not dealing with. Right.
honestly think that's where that chapter went.
Is that where it goes?
I like I said, I haven't read it, but if I remember our conversation, I mean, I think that's where she was getting at with it is, you know, you're looking You know, there's people in my life that I dislike for a certain reason. And because of that reason, everything else seems to bother me.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other people that might have the exact same qualities or it might do the exact same thing, but they don't bother me as much because that I like that person more.
Yeah,
So
I could see that. Yeah.
that's where I'm, it was something, I had something completely different, like I was telling you off camera, that I was going to talk to you about today, but can't for the freaking life of me, the lack of fucking sleep last night. I'm like, I can't think for the life of me, but this is a good subject because it's something I feel like you are really good at. Like you said, you put it back on you, where you try to go into every situation very open, very, doesn't matter who you're with or what you're doing, that you go in there and you're with that person to be with that person, not to judge them or for whatever reason, if that all makes sense. So I was just curious if there was anything besides putting it on yourself or what you do to kind of get away from those scenarios.
No, I think a lot of it is just that, I think a lot of it's just you have to step outside of what you're thinking of the person and really put it internally. Even when before I started working out, my perception of people that worked out or that always posted videos about where they're working out or blah, 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 I'm like, oh, okay, these guys are just showing off.
I felt the same.
These people are, I had these judgments and thoughts of these people. That was my own insecurity of why, because I wasn't doing the work or I wasn't doing the things that I needed to do to get there. I would look for excuses to think of these persons in a specific light to make it easier for me to understand why they would do that. But as you kind of grow through the process, you have to learn to accept who you are, and then accept others as they are. And then if you find something that, like you said, is bothering you, or there is, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there is people that you just can't stand. I've ran into those people, give them the best chance, but I just can't stand being around them, and that's usually a personality thing. It's got nothing to do with.
But you said the key word. You give them a chance.
Yeah. I'll give everybody a chance. I'm a true believer that everybody has a chance until they blow it. That's just the reality, and doesn't necessarily mean you need to cut them all the way off, but there is boundaries at that point where you're like, okay, I know that this will never, in this current state of whatever friendship, acquaintance, it's not going to go further than what I am allowing this person to take it to. And then you build that acquaintance or that friendship based on that. But that's just the way I view things, and that's the way I do things, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's right. It's just how I've been able to navigate through life and make it easier for me to understand why people do certain things.
Wait, you're not a guru in all this?
No. Unfortunately not.
See, this is actually, this is a great question, because it really does lead back to our previous episode we just released.
Mm-hmm.
Because talk about learning. This is something that I have done in my past, and I still have some judgments out there. So it's something that I'm thinking in my head, like, okay, how can I, like, I'm thinking about some of these people and these judgments that I have on them and reasons that I don't like them. Thinking of, okay, what's my insecurity with this? What's my reason behind this? Why am I having this problem? Why am I having this issue? And I can start seeing light bulbs clicking on in my head of every single reason why I have that issue. So this is a learning experience for me, having a great conversation with you about this. Sorry to cut you off. I just needed to throw that out there.
I think the only way to truly get to know somebody is you have to give them a chance, and you have to allow them. You have to take everybody as a blank sheet, right? That's just that's the hardest part of life. That's the hardest part of building a relationship or a friendship with somebody, right? It's just like you and I. I can honestly, I can't tell you what day we met. I don't remember. I for the life of me, I've thought, I'm like, when did it click? When did everything, like, him and I become so good at, like, just communicating, and then we, I remember there was some things in there, and I remember, but I can't narrow it down to one thing for me. It was just like, we just aligned. Like, it was just a moment in time, but I always gave you a chance. I never prejudged you, or I think it's easy to do that nowadays, right? Especially, let's just be honest, right? We're totally different people. At least that's what we thought. At least
That's
I
fair.
could say that.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I truly believe. I don't think that I would have seen you and be like, oh, me and this dude are totally similar. We have very different careers. We're very different in multiple different aspects. But then as we started kind of getting around each other, we find the similarities in each other because we're open to that discussion. We're open to listen. I'm open to listening to you, and you're open to listening to me. And so if I would have came with my prejudgments of like, oh, this dude's got a big beard, he's a blue collar worker, blah, blah, all these.
He's an ass.
And then you can look at me. This guy's a fucking prick. Like he's an office guy, clean cut dude. Like doesn't really, he's kind of stuck up. Well, all these you can come up with whatever negative condensation or like mentality of somebody, and then close that person off. But going back to that, it's like I don't think I ever had that with you. You're part of the family, and then somehow we just got connected, and we really started just clicking off, and we started really just talking to each other. And the more I kind of talked to you, at least from my perspective, it's like this guy's kind of like he's got some of what I like am, who I am. And then as we kind of got into the podcasting, I was like, whoa, like he's where I was like a couple years ago, and some of the mental things and like the things that you're discovering now, not by any means saying that I'm like ahead of you or anything like that, but it was just, I feel like there was milestones that I hit and I was like, oh shoot. And then I hear you say certain things like, holy crap, dude. Like if only like I had a brother. I've always wanted that. I've always wanted a brother, I wish I had a brother so I could tell him like, dude, like just do this. And then we start like talking, and I'm like, I just hear the growth and the things that you're going through. And I'm like, dude, this guy's like blowing my mind because we're so very similar. But going back to that, it's just like, yeah, I had to take that prejudgment out and not judge you for thoughts or what I thought it was. It was just like, I have to listen to you and just find my own perception. Cause I'm sure you could talk to somebody else or even for me, they'd be like, oh, this guy, but you're like, well, I don't have that relationship with him. Actually, we're actually pretty cool. So you can't let outside sources either influence that. You have to build your own idea of that person. And I think that's sometimes a problem for people is they want to take the internet or social media, all these other things to form your opinion of somebody. And maybe it is okay if you can't get close to that person, but if I can talk to you, if you're open to having a discussion, I'd like to form my own opinion about you and not let somebody else form it. And that just goes with the topic of you have to be able to look past yourself and look at ways of understanding others and just do it that way. And I think it's difficult and it's hard, but it all goes back to ego. For me, it was ego. I just don't want to.
That's fair.
I don't want to it's not wanting to be wrong about the person, because if I'm wrong in the way that I'm judging them, then I've been wrong about all my judgments. Well, guess what? You're going to keep judging people. That's just the reality. We're not robots. But the more you can learn to control that and say, look, I'm just going to give them a chance. I'm going to actually talk to, understand, and listen and get to know the person. That's all you can ask for. That's all you can do to progress forward. And I think it's a hard thing, but I think it's valuable. I think it's the only way to truly understand somebody. If you just are cut off and building your own stories for somebody, and then you give people grace. You can change, but like I said, it goes back to me. You wouldn't have connected the same way.
No. God,
when did I meet Taylor? So 7-8 years ago, versus where it to me, and I heard this audio 2 days ago, and I was actually going to text you about it, but it's called timing. It's about timing, the perfect timing, right? And he said, essentially, it's like, I truly believe in that. Like, you meet people in seasons when you need them, or when they need you, or when you're on the right path.
That's true.
You and I were around each other for a very long time. Now, we didn't get into each other's arena until we were both in the same kind of mindset, or we were going towards the same direction, and it just worked out. Like, and now we have this, and who knows what else will come out of it. You know what I mean? It's just, it's crazy to see how much a simple mindset change in each, because it takes two, right? In that to be willing to grow a relationship and understand each other. And yeah, I think that one of the hardest things you can do is just putting your ego aside, and but it's one of the most rewarding things you can do for a relationship or a friendship.
It really is. I'm over here looking. I'm trying to see. Let's see. It says I've been a member at EOS since February of 2021.
Yeah.
So 3 years ago was when we started going to the gym, but we'd started doing walks before that. I'm over here listening to you and understanding everything, but also trying to figure out how the hell did we get to this point.
I can't tell you. I tell you.
The only thing I can continue to think of is our daughters. Like once you kind of were established in the family more, because I don't think I ever judged you personally.
Yeah,
like
I could say the same thing about you.
like just thinking about this all. I don't think I ever judged you. All I kept looking at was hopefully Taylor's happy.
Yeah,
like
that's what everybody does.
You know the past. I mean,
I do.
You know the first husband, the
yeah.
dude in between, whatever.
Yeah.
You know the past.
Yeah.
So all I remember is that you got brought around and just kept, you were consistent.
Right.
And it was, they're buying a house. They're doing this.
Yeah.
They're doing this. And it was a growth of you guys growing together. Right. And then the only thing I think of is our kids and how much family functions we were still doing at the time, that we were just around each other. And, I think we started seeing Sophie do her changes, and it's like, well, yeah. And we were going on walks.
Yeah.
I swore it was like August that we started, but because we were on a walk, and that's all I remember about the gym is we were on a walk, and you're like, look,
yeah.
Because we were on a walk, but
you're right.
February doesn't sound right.
It was definitely before. It was way before.
It had to have been in August.
Yeah, it was before.
I don't know why it says since February, because it had to have been in August, because we went for a walk, like August, September, we went for a walk, and I'm like, yeah, Sophie was giving me shit about not being at the gym, and I'm really slacking, I just signed up for this gym, I haven't really gone. And you're like, well,
yeah,
me and Luis are going to start going to the gym on Monday, so we'll go get memberships at EOS, and we'll meet you there at 4:30 in the morning, and that's kind of where it started, and I know that's where we slowly started to evolve those wheels, and we started to get together more and talk more and work out more. And you were the teacher, I was the the student, and just learning, but
it's just it just happened over time. It was kind of organic, you could say, because I think.
And then once we started realizing that we're both going down the same path, like we want to get better, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to do that. The steps just kept.
I think you're right. It was a lot to do with the kids, like walks and hikes. I think that was really because you guys
don't talk about hikes. We do not talk about hikes with us.
But that really was what it. Now that I'm I'm really, really starting to think of it. Like that was the thing that was getting us together. Were hikes and like walks. Because we could take the girls could be by themselves, and obviously we were just chit chat and kind of get to know each other. But
well, the girls were close when they were younger. They were really close when they were younger, if I remember right. Because like I said, when I came into the family over 18 years ago, it was family functions constantly.
Right.
And, we're talking, we're young enough that we were young enough. Jesus, we're still young. We're in our prime, but. Back then, we were at the point that we pretty much spent all the time with the family. So we were always around each other and stuff. And so it was definitely.
But I remember what you're talking about. That one walk. And we were talking about it. You're like, I need to go back to the gym. And, I'm about to leave. I think you were somewhere else. I don't know.
I left Vasa and had just joined EOS when they opened.
And we were just leaving Vasa and going to EO. We were looking for a gym. We're like, EOS would work. And then we're like, well, shoot, we'll get a gym pass and just start going there. And then from there, it kind of just, was during my 75 hard, and then
it evolved and
kind of changed into just working out, and then just other things outside of the gym, and just kind of getting together. And
it just slowly became this bigger life that we are. But the ultimate is I don't remember ever judging. I try not to judge. I try my best not to judge anybody. Again, we're human, like you said. Everybody's going to throw a judgment out there, and as bad as it is, there was a guy talk about judgment. There's a guy standing in front of us, and at first glance, and I thought it was a grandpa and his granddaughter. But then the more we kind of talked with him a little bit, and he talked with what I found out was his daughter, I'm like, and then when I really kind of focused in on it, and that was just judging a look, just the way he was dressed, his demeanor just made me think that for some reason he was a grandpa. I don't know why. But the more he talked, I'm like, man, that was a lame judgment to put on somebody because he's probably no older than I am. So why, and and even like with that Muddy Dash, my wife's like all in her head about, and she's like, it's great to be here and know that we're just all here for fun. There's people that are not fit doing this. They're just here to have some fun. And it made it, when we were doing it, made it that much better. She's like, you're going to blow me out of the water. And I'm like, I'm here to make sure you and our friend Abby finish. That's my goal, is to make sure the three of us finish together. I don't care how long it takes us. I don't care.
Yeah.
And
love it.
The whole thing, there was no judgment beyond that, but that's just a hint of judgments everywhere, people. But how you go about it, it's totally different.
Yeah, you just have to, like I said, and everybody's different, right? You have to find whatever. I always go back to Jocko, but you have to just take ownership of whatever you're kind of dealing with, and then just kind of move forward. And it's the same way in leadership, right? I think it's in leadership, if you have a team member that's not willing to step up, or if you walk in with a perception of somebody before once they join your team, if you don't break that, it'll kill your team building or collaborative work between the whole team.
It'll eat you from the inside out.
Yeah. And so you as a leader just have to be able to clean everybody's slate, and then even if they have a bad rap, and just understand them for what they are. And that's how you find out what people's strengths and weaknesses are, and you build off of that. I think you have to treat everybody a little bit different. And the real world is just that way. Like I said, I think you form your own opinion with everybody, and then you kind of put them wherever you need to put them, to whether it's a growth or if, it's acquaintance. I need to put them here for now. They're not where I would consider where I'm going to, but I do like their company. But it's just part of life, and the faster people can understand that, you have to give everybody a chance, and then, just move from there. But that's just part of being a human being. It's part of being a leader, and it's just part of just who you need to be. And the faster you can learn how to do that, the better you can be at, just
being a human.
Yeah, being a human and being understanding of people.
Before we wrap this up, with all that being said, after you've cleaned the slate and you've reevaluated everything, or you've looked at this person that you're judging, and like we were talking about in the book, that you just dislike, you find all their flaws. After you've looked at yourself and you're like, hey, I can see all my flaws in how I'm doing this. Is this still okay to dislike that person, though?
Yeah, I think so. I think
because it comes down to a personality.
if you ran you don't. That's the thing is, and I should believe this. You don't have to like everybody.
No,
not everybody likes me, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, I get.
Hence the book is it's called The Courage to Be Disliked.
I guess but it just. Yeah, we've talked about this in the podcast. Even before we started, this is why I wanted, multiple people on it. This is why I wanted 3, and then we came down to 2, and now we want guests, because I know that I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I know that. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being disliked. I wasn't for a very long time.
Same.
But I've just come to the understanding, that just means that there's other people that can hear my message in my heart, and they connect with me because of circumstances or the way that we are. But I can also see you for that as well. It's okay to talk to somebody and say, hey, they're a good person, but you know what, they're just not for me. It doesn't necessarily mean I think anything, you're a bad person or anything like that, but say I came into, you know, let's just say that I came into a judgment. I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this person a chance, and you establish all those things that really gave them a clean slate, and you really came to understand them. You're like, oh, okay, they're a cool person, but you know what?
They're just not for me.
They're just not for me. That's okay, and everybody should be okay with that. Like, I don't think you need to, like, you shouldn't have to change or anything really about you for somebody to like you, because then you're just like a chameleon. You're just changing your forms to please others.
That is one of the hardest lessons to learn in life, in my opinion, because there's so many times where people try to do, like you said, they play the chameleon, but it never works out because they lose a couple of things. They lose who they are and what they're truly about. Yeah. And at the end of it all, there's a movie about it, and I cannot think of what it is, but I've read something about it, read a book or a movie where it's that exact scenario where they've gone through so much change and so much this that they have no clue who the hell they don't remember their name. And I know it's just, movie and all that, but at the end of the day, that's true. If you're constantly playing somebody different, you're going to lose who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
And that's terrible.
Yeah. It's just you don't, it's got the movie's got a philosophical kind of, layout of it. Right.
Yeah. Yep.
But, I think, you just need to be okay with not being liked and not take it, don't be offended by it. If you don't, people just don't click. Like, that's okay.
Put your big boy pants on and move on.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to be okay with it. You got to just brush it off and know that, as long as the person's being respectful and it's okay. And, I get people's number all the time. I'll get dudes' numbers and I'll text them and, or they'll be like, nah, I'm not interested. I don't want to, that I'm cool with that. It took me a long time to get that way, but I'm cool with it now. Cause at the end of the day, I didn't lose anything.
Nope.
I shot my shot. It's like dating, you go shoot your shot at the girl and they're like, oh no, you get rejected. Okay. You move on. Like, what are you going to sit there and cry about it because she doesn't like you? And you're like, well, if she doesn't like me, then every other girl doesn't like me. Like, no, that's not the way it works.
Yeah.
And if people think about it, I know it's kind of weird to think about, but if you think about it the same way with everybody else, if you let somebody's opinion or somebody's perspective or dislike of you flow into other people, like you're almost self-fulfilling your own fear.
Yep.
Because you are accepting this one thing as the truth for everything, and you just have a miserable life, and it's not worth it. It's okay to be disliked. It's okay to not like the person even if you gave them a chance.
Closing thing is, I believe it's Wayne Gretzky. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
100%.
What challenge you got for him?
My challenge is that it's okay to be disliked. I think a lot of it is the challenge for me would just be go really try to put yourself out there, whether it be with your friends or a stranger that you see at the gym. I used to do that all the time. I'd see somebody and I would judge this person like, oh, this guy's probably a jerk because he's big and buff. And
they're some of the nicest.
They are the nicest people. Not all of them, but 99% of them, they're super nice. They'll always show you anything you need to know. But I would just say, let's just put in the gym aspect. I would encourage people to just go reach out to somebody that you see at the gym consistently, because we have those people, especially when you go to a specific time every single day. You see that person and you haven't talked to them because you have a perception of them, just go up to them and say hi. That'd be my challenge to you.
Especially if they're doing something you want to learn.
I love that.
Especially if they're doing something you want to learn. Or if you've seen them do something and you're curious why, go ask them. You'll learn. This goes into this one and the last one. So
I love it.
Guys, thank you for all the love. Thank you for all the shares. Thank you for all the positive feedback. Guys, if you make it, like, share, comment, let us know if there's something you dislike. Guys, we're okay hearing that. We want to hear it because we want to make sure we're giving you guys the best content we can. So just keep your eyes out. We're going to have a lot more coming. We talked about it for a half hour last time we got together about this stuff. So,
Guys,
I can't wait. Thank you guys very much. We love you. We appreciate you.
Love y'all. See you guys soon.